Now, why I chose to do the Murasama bike is because Piboso's bikes are very simple in terms of how they're laid out. Like, this is quite easily recognizable as the front. This is the right hand side fairing. This is the left hand side. That's easily the fuel tank, front mudguard, seat unit. Whereas if I go and pick up another skin, one that's not quite so simple. So as you can see, this is another skin. This is the Endurance Suzuki GSXR Cert Team, or the Street as it's known in GP bikes. As you can see, it's not quite as simple. It's a very, very advanced thing to be painting. So you've got belly pan down here, front mudguard. I have no idea what that is or what that is. Looks like it might be the front actually. No idea where that goes. That's obviously the right fairing and the left fairing. Don't know what they are. I think they might be a swing arm, I want to say. I don't know. That's the back of the seat unit. Where that goes, don't know. So as you can see, it's quite complicated, and even to me, who's been painting bikes for about 2 years now, unsuccessfully and with varying degrees of success, that I don't even know where to start with that. But compared to that, this is just so much easier to paint and understand. It's the same with all the Piboso bikes, the 125 and the M2. I'd recommend if you're starting out, you start off with those, as they're just so much simpler to understand. That being said, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our reference imaging file, and we're going to find the Camel Honda that we saved, and we're going to open that in paint.net. Now, there are several reasons we've done that. The first one being we're going to want this yellow colour here, and we're going to want it where it's not particularly reflecting. So we don't want it here because that's where it's reflecting. Don't want it here because that's in the shade. That seems pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to click colour picker, going to come over to that, ensure I've got the background selected, and I'm going to quite simply left click. And as you can see, we have got the colour picker. Now we can verify this by selecting another image and just generally looking at images. Now that actually seems like a very good image to get the colours off, because while you can't see much of the logo, it's very flat. There isn't much reflection going on, so I'm just going to save that. I'm just going to save that, and what we can do then, we can get rid of that, and we can quite simply just open up the new one. So that was, what did I save that as now? I don't have a clue. Estoril, there you go. As you can see, it's a little bit pixelated because it's not very high quality, but that doesn't matter. We just select the colour we want. So it's a little bit lighter colour, I think, possibly one that's not reflective. Leathers are generally a good shout. But I want it to be a little bit. See, it's very difficult to pinpoint, especially with a low res picture, because as you can see, that pixel there is significantly different to the one next to it. So, but that seems a fairly accurate color representation, I want to say. See here, they're very, very yellow here. So let's try this one. Camel Honda color reference. So you can see just how quickly you gain images just by trying to trying to find a nice color. You can gain quite a lot of images just by doing this. So select nice standard image. That's probably the best one I've got. So I'm going to quite simply just add it to the color palette on a color I don't use. So it's on the middle palette, the yellow on the top row. Can get rid of that now. So what I'm going to do now is go back into the paint scheme I had up in the Chrome, so this one, and we're going to start by creating this front mudguard here. It's a very simple one. There's just the Michelin logo, a camel logo, Very simple to do, and that will be that. So we go back into paint.net, we locate the front mudguard, which is up here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to click the little spanner icon, which brings up the layer properties, so I can change how opaque it is, so whether I want it to be whether I want to drag that down a little bit, it will make the colours, all the colours in it, see through a little bit. I can choose whether to hide it altogether, and I can choose its name. So I'm just going to give it a good name, so mudguard end. Now, this is called mudguard end. It's actually going to be blank. That just tells me where the mudguard paints end. So I'm going to create another new layer, and I'm going to call this one mudguard start. Oh, no, I've just renamed the same one. Oops. That's my bad. So I'm going to call this one mudguard end once again. So now I've got mudguard start and end, but they're the wrong way around. So just hold left click and you can drag to rearrange like that. Whichever one's on top will be visible over the bottom. So if I drew, say, a yellow line on mudguard end, and then I clicked on mudguard start and drew a red line, as you can see, the red line will go over the yellow line. But if I switch it round, as you can see, that's how that works. So just gonna get rid of these because we don't want those yellow and red lines, they're just demos. So now what I'm going to do is anything that goes on the mudguard, whether it be colour or anything like that, is going to go in between these two layers. So select mudguard end, click new layer. I'm going to click, type it, call it base colour. You don't have to do this. This is just a way that I've come across, or the way that I've sort of adopted to make it easier to understand what's going on. So this will be the base colour of the mudguard. So what I'm going to do is simply make sure I've got my yellow selected, and I'm going to drag around the black. Now, it doesn't matter if you go into the whites too much. Try and keep as close as you can, obviously, to the original image, but it doesn't matter if you go into the white too much, because anything there, it doesn't register as being on the bike, so it just won't register it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quite simply go around the mudguard in the yellow, create a shape that I can then use the fill tool to fill in. Now when you're doing this, it's important that you don't leave any gaps, because if you leave gaps between your shapes, it will fill in the entire document, and you don't want that. That's just awkward. Now that gap can be a pixel wide, so it's important that you, if anything, overlap them a bit. See, I'm not starting right at the end there. If anything, overlap them a little bit, just to be on the safe side. It's not a big deal. You can go back and you can, you know, fiddle with things, but just one of those things. Can become quite annoying. So we're going to just, again, follow it around roughly. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Okay, and connect that up. So we've gone around the mudguard. I can now select the paint bucket, the fill tool, and I can left click, and that will paint it. Now, as you can see, we've got a bit of a line around the edge. So to get rid of that, what I can do is I just click somewhere else in it again, and it'll expand. It'll basically give it another coat. So that is the base colour of the mudguard. The next one we want to do is we want to add in the logos. And we want the Michelin logo to be the next one we do. Michelin. I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to click this tick here to hide the base colour, because we want to see just where the Michelin man is located. There's no Showa logo as far as I'm aware. There's nothing there, it's just the Michelin man and the camel logo. So I'm going to go back in, going to open a file because I've already got it saved. If you don't have it saved, you'll need to go into Google Images and you're going to type in Michelin man logo. You're going to go into Google Images, find a nice high res one, tells you the resolution here, find the highest res one you can. That's a good one, or make sure he's in the pose that you want, but that'll be a good high res one. File, save image as, save it to your reference image folder and click save. And it'll just download it and it'll be in the folder ready to open. So if I find him, scroll down to M, there he is. Now if we zoom out, as you can see it's the running one, so I've got a running one saved here. And as you can see, there he is. Now the thing to note with this is it has a white background. Now we don't want that, we want it to be transparent, because if we put that on there, we'll just end up with a white square on the yellow, and that is not what we want. So how do we remove that? Well, we could just get the eraser and begin going like that, begin erasing, but there's a quicker way. We basically fill it in with a transparent colour. So to do that, we ensure we've got our colour palette open. We click more, it brings up these sliders, drag the opacity down to 0. Next, you want to click on this little potion pot here, the blending mode, and you want to click overwrite. And what it'll do, when I click the outside here in white, as you can see, it's overwritten the previous colour with the current colour, which is a transparent colour. So fill that and hit enter, and as you can see, I just drag that back up and click that to normal. As you can see, we now have a clear background. Now I'm actually just going to save that, save me having to do it each time. But we now have a clear background with a white Michelin Man. So I'm going to hit the rectangle select. I'm going to highlight the entire Michelin Man. I'm going to hit left control and C, and that will copy it to the clipboard. Going to go back onto our livery here. You can quick select between any paint.net file you've got at the top. They will appear all the way across here, and then you can have a drop down as well. Going to go back onto that, the livery, check we've got the right logo selected, or the right layer selected, sorry, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. As you can see, there he is. Now I'm going to hold left shift to transform it in the same aspect ratio it's in. Going to use this little button to drag him about. If you go to a corner and hang off the dot, it'll go to a curved arrow, as you can see. If I left click and drag, it rotates him. So I'm going to just quite simply put him on to be roughly the same ratio as that Michelin Man. Now I'm not going to, well, I suppose I could keep him in the same aspect ratio, but make him the same size. Hit enter. I'm going to Control C this guy and Control V him once again. Going to shrink him down, drag him over to this side, rotate him so he's in the right orientation, and that size is actually pretty good. So now we've got the Michelin Men on. It looks a bit dodgy because of the way it is, but if I bring back the main colour, we've got Michelin Men aligned perfectly on the mudguard. The next thing we want to do is, if we go back to our reference images, the front mudguard, this one seems like a good picture to have. As you can see, we've got camel and then Honda underneath. That actually seems like a very good picture. So to do that, I'm going to search for the camel logo images. Now I want to find a decent logo. Camel logo motorsport. Now this is going to be quite a difficult one to do because there isn't actually a camel logo that's the same. That is the closest we can appear to get. Here we go. So if you find one that's very similar but not what you want, click on it and it'll bring up a whole bunch of suggested ones. So that one seems very similar. Now what I can do is quite simply right click, save image as camel logo. Okay. We've got that. The next stage is to pop this on. So I'm going to open it in paint.net once again. Camel logo. Now it's a bit bright, that blue. I'm not a big fan of it. If we look at the actual bike, that it's a lot more muted on the bike than that. So what I can do then is if I click that, I open up the Camel Honda machine, I select my color picker, select the blue, add the blue to my color palette, I can get rid of the Camel Honda picture, then I fill in all the blue. So what I want to do then is I want to click this little layer, this little light bulb. Okay, this will basically change how it fills in. So if I leave it on contiguous, it'll basically mean that anything that's connected to it of the same colour will get changed. So as you can see, if I fill that in, it changes everything that's connected to it, but the bits that aren't won't get filled. As you can see, the centre of the A is not done in between its legs. So to change this, what we can do is we can change it to global. And what that'll do is anything that is this colour, or the colour that I change, will then be changed. Anything that's this colour in the document will then be changed to the new colour, regardless of if it's touching or not. So if I click that, as you can see, it's done everything. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm quite simply just going to save that because I prefer that colouring. And now what I want to do is I want to make, if we look at the bike, it's got a white outline. Now I want to do that on the actual image itself. So how do we do that? We click the shape tool, we click the ellipse tool, we want to make it quite wide, so let's go for a 10, and we want to select white, and we just simply want to drag, but first we want to create a new layer, and we just simply want to drag over it like so. Like so. We just want to drag over it like that. I'm going to make it a little thinner, so I'm going to make it 5, just basically cover up the last bit of blue there. I'm happy with that. So again, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to click this button here, which will merge the layer down, so now it's all one layer, and I'm going to just save it once again. So now that we've got that, we can come back over to the mudguard and see just how this is on. So it's just above the Honda logo, so if I leave that bit of space there for a Honda logo, we can do that. So I'm going to select that, select the entire thing, Control C once again, go over here, going to create a new layer, call it logo camel, hit enter, I'm going to hit Control V. Going to shrink it down, put it up here, centralize it a little bit, like so, hit enter, and as you can see we now have a camel logo. Now next we need the Honda logo, so again if you don't have it just Google it, find a high-res one. I do have a Honda logo here somewhere. That's the Honda logo I have installed. Now if we go back onto that we can see I could do with really a bit closer of an image. Is there a closer one? It looks black. As we can see, all the Honda logos on him and the bike are black. So what I'm then going to do, I'm going to leave this as black. Just going to fill it in again because as you can see it's a little grainy. Fill that in as black. I'm going to overwrite the background to be transparent, so get rid of all the white. I'm then going to save that just for simplicity's sake, and I'm going to select the entire Honda logo, Control C, and I'm going to create a new layer, call it Honda logo, and then I'm going to Control V, and there it is. So I'm going to drag that down, put that roughly central like that, and I'm going to just make sure it's a good fit, which it is. I'm going to hit enter, and that is the mudguard. That is the mudguard done, and that is the basics of how you go about painting a skin in paint.net and certainly for all GP bikes. I'm probably going to stop the recording here, well, certainly the commentary. I'm going to time lapse the rest of the paint, so you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see me doing it, but it'll just be a little bit quicker, and it'll hopefully keep the video to what is a somewhat respectable length. So next I'm going to work on the tank, because that's the next easiest bit, and I'm just going to basically make my way around. So onwards and upwards.